one fun, she could kill you with a wink of her eye.
Oh yeah, it was electric, surprisingly hectic, and the band started leaving, 'cause they all stopped breathing. And the man in the back said everyone attack, and it turned into a ballroom blitz, ballroom blitz, ballroom blitz, ballroom blitz.
Hey, welcome to Attack the Stack. If you like that, try this.
Hell yes!
Shadow Warrior 2 is a first-person shooter developed by Flying Wild Hog and published by Devolver Digital. Shadow Warrior 2 can be played in single-player mode or in 4-player co-op mode. The level environments are more open and non-linear than in the previous title. New traversal mechanics have been added, such as climbing walls and double jumping to allow for more exploration. The mission structure in Shadow Warrior 2 is less restricted than its predecessor, and players can now revisit earlier missions to re-engage past enemies in order to upgrade Wang's skills. The game features a hub area where the player can acquire quests and upgrade their abilities before beginning a mission. Every mission, except for story-specific events, features a randomly generated level design and content, including randomized map layouts, enemy positions, terrain, buildings, and weather conditions. The game utilizes a procedural damage system that allows players to cut and blow off enemy limbs and body parts. The game features over 70 different weapons, varying between firearms and blades. Killing enemies will level up weapons and reward the player with gems to augment their equipment with elemental properties and buffs.
Get up close and personal with Gulp, put a bullet in his head, then maybe eat a sandwich.
Destiny 2 is a free-to-play online multiplayer first-person shooter developed by Bungie. The game was published by Activision until early 2019, when Bungie acquired the publishing rights to the franchise. Players assume the role of a guardian, protectors of Earth's last safe city, as they wield a power called Light to protect the last city from different alien races. Set in a mythic science fiction world, the game features a multiplayer shared world environment with elements of role-playing games. Like the original, activities in Destiny 2 are divided among player versus environment and player versus player game types. In addition to normal story missions, PvE features 3-player enemy strikes and 6-player raids. A free roam patrol mode is also available for each planet and features public events as well as new activities not featured in the original. These new activities have an emphasis on exploration of the planets and interactions with non-player characters. The original Destiny only featured NPCs and social spaces. Player vs. player features objective-based modes as well as traditional deathmatch game modes. Upon release, Destiny 2 received generally favorable reviews from critics. The game received praise for its many improvements over its predecessor. Destiny 2 won various awards at different shows, including 2017 Game Awards and Game Critics Awards. Risk of Rain 2 is a third-person roguelike developed by Hapu Games and is supported by Gearbox Publishing. Risk of Rain 2 follows a similar approach as the first title, in which 1 to 4 players must progress several different levels while killing enemies. On each level, the goal is to locate a teleporter, randomly located on the level, and once activated, the players must defend themselves from an onslaught of aliens, including boss monsters, until the teleporter is fully active. Killing aliens gains experience and currency. The currency can be used to purchase various upgrades from automated stations on the level. Upgrades offer a wide range of boosts to the players carrying them and provide both synergistic effects and the potential to stack if multiple copies of the same upgrades are acquired. However, the strength, difficulty, and numbers of aliens increases every 5 minutes, thus making the game harder the longer the players stay on any level. In the metagame, players unlock access to new playable characters, upgrades, and game modifiers by completing certain in-game achievements. Once unlocked, new characters or modifiers are available to select from at the start of the game, or the new upgrades can start appearing randomly in-game. Risk of Rain 2 features several of the same creatures and items from the first game, but transitions the game from 2D to a 3D environment. Dying Light Like is an open-world, first-person survival horror action-adventure developed by Techland and published by Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. The game revolves around an undercover agent named Kyle Crane who is sent to infiltrate a quarantine zone in a city called Haran. It features an enemy-infested, open-world city with a dynamic day and night cycle with climbable structures that support a fluid parkour system. The day-night cycle changes the game drastically, as the zombies become more aggressive and more difficult to deal with during nighttime. The gameplay is focused on weapons-based combat. The game also features an asymmetrical multiplayer mode and a 4-player cooperative multiplayer mode. The game's parkour system puts an emphasis on natural movement. To implement that, Techland had to abandon most of the story elements and build them again from scratch. The music development was handled by Paweł Blaszczak. According to him, the soundtrack was inspired by movie soundtracks of the 70s and 80s. At release, Dying Light received positive reviews from critics, with praise mainly directed at the combat, graphics, cooperative multiplayer, navigation, and the day-night cycle.
This is the only world we've ever known. See, when you make everyone else fear you, you get to be queens.
Far Cry New Dawn is a first-person shooter developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. The game is a spin-off of the Far Cry series and a narrative sequel set 17 years after the events of Far Cry 5. After the nuclear exchange, known as the Collapse, devastated the world, survivors attempt to rebuild the community in Hope County. Because of this, the game uses a reimagined version of Far Cry 5's map. The nuclear war portrayed in Far Cry 5 has reshaped the landscape so that new areas have become available for the player to explore while others are inaccessible. The game features many pre-existing gameplay elements from the series, including a large open world, capturing of outposts, and AI or co-op companions, but also introduces several elements from RPG gameplay, including an upgradable home base and increased reliance of crafting from limited supplies.
She looks peaceful out there, but she'll turn.
Warframe is a free-to-play, multiplayer action role-playing third-person shooter developed and published by Digital Extremes. In Warframe, players control members of the Tenno, a race of ancient warriors who have awoken from centuries of cryosleep far into the Earth's future to find themselves at war in the planetary system with different factions. The Tenno use their powered warframes along with a variety of weapons and abilities to complete missions. While many of the game's missions are procedurally generated levels, newer updates have included large open-world areas similar to other massively multiplayer online games, as well as some story-specific missions with fixed level design. The game includes elements of shooting and melee games, parkour, and role-playing to allow players to advance their Tenno with improved gear. The game includes both player versus environment and player versus player elements. It is supported by microtransactions, which lets players purchase in-game items using real money, but also offers the option to earn them at no cost through grinding. Since its release, the game has been backed by a group of dedicated fans and has experienced positive growth through continued development by Digital Extremes over the years.
Trained in secret, only to be activated if the worst happened. 7 months ago, that day came.
Tom Clancy's The Division 2 is an online action role-playing game developed by Massive Entertainment and published by Ubisoft. It is set in a near-future Washington, D.C. in the aftermath of a smallpox pandemic and follows an agent of the Strategic Homeland Division as they try to rebuild the city. Played from a third-person perspective, the game is a cover-based, third-person shooter with up to 4 players being able to complete missions together. Players create their own division agent by customizing the character's gender and appearance. The players are equipped with different firearms, including assault rifles, sniper rifles, and SMGs, and explosives like grenades to defeat enemies. These weapons are classified into different tiers and rarity. These weapons can be further customized with different attachments like iron sights and barrels. The game also features a variety of gear and armor. Wearing gear from the same brand gives players a small performance boost. As players complete missions, they gain loot and experience points. With sufficient XP, they level up and gain Shade Tech, a currency to unlock new skills. These skills include deploying gun turrets, shields, and combat drones, or gaining access to weapons like seeker mines and chem launchers. Each skill has unique mods that change its functionality. The game also features new enemy types, including healers and characters that shoot foam at players. Players can request backup during missions, which allows other players to join their sessions. Players can also join a clan, which can accommodate at most 50 players. The actions of individual members of a clan contribute to clan XP, which can then be used to upgrade the clan for additional gameplay benefits.
I will not let you hurt my son.
But you're wolves. And these
are your woods.
All right, Jess, what's the plan?
Find our dad and kill Nazis.
Wolfenstein Youngblood is a first-person shooter developed by Machine Games and Arcane Studios and published by Bethesda Softworks. 20 years after Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, America and much of the world is liberated from Nazi control, and B.J. Blazkowicz and his wife Anya have raised their twin daughters Jessie and Zofia, teaching them how to defend themselves. In 1980, Blazkowicz mysteriously disappears without a trace. Jessie, Zofia, and their friend Abby, Grace Walker's daughter, discover a hidden room in the attic with the map indicating Blazkowicz traveled to Nazi-occupied Neo-Paris to meet the French resistance. Believing that American authorities will not follow Blazkowicz to Nazi France, the girls steal an FBI helicopter and a pair of powered armor suits and head for France. The player assumes control of either Jessie or Zofia Blazkowicz from a first-person perspective. An optional cooperative multiplayer mode is also included. Players can complete the game with another player or with an artificial intelligence substitute. Missions can be completed in a non-linear order, and players can unlock new gear and abilities as they progress in the game. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands is a tactical shooter developed by Ubisoft Paris and published by Ubisoft. Ubisoft described Wildlands as one of the biggest open-world games that they have published. Wildlands is played from a third-person perspective with an optional first-person view for gun aiming. The equipment featured in the game is based on weapons and gear commonly used by military forces around the world, in addition to drones that can be used to tag enemies and show objectives. Wildlands also introduces a dynamic weather system as well as a day-night cycle. A variety of vehicles such as dirt bikes, helicopters, and dune buggies are featured in the game. Unlike its predecessors, Wildlands features several side missions. Players are allowed to use multiple ways to complete objectives, such as utilizing stealth, melee combat, or using long-range or short-range weapons provided in the game. Players can also gain experience points to level up. The playable character can be customized, and loot found on enemies' corpse can also be equipped. Weapons and gear can be upgraded as well. It features 4-player online co-op. The game can also be played solo, in which the player will be accompanied by 3 AI teammates, which the player can give orders to. If a player wants a more lone wolf playstyle, they can also disable that via the settings.
Everybody's got a purpose on this rock, and yours just happens to be being the goddamn best!
And kick some major ass.
Rage 2 is a first-person shooter developed by Avalanche Studios in conjunction with id Software and published by Bethesda Softworks. Players assume control of a ranger named Walker, who is free to explore the game's apocalyptic world. Players are given control over some of Walker's attributes, such as their gender, skill, or attire. Walker is able to wield various firearms and tools to fight against enemies, including returning weapons such as the wing stick. Players can develop Walker's skills with nanotrite-based powers. Through a mode called Overdrive, Walker's guns do more damage, enemies drop more energy, and they get healed constantly, providing players with an aggressive way to mow down enemies. Nanotrites from the first game, which act as special powers and ability boosts, can be used to increase combat efficiency. The game features vehicular combat, including trucks, buggies, and gyrocopters, with the player being able to drive any vehicle in the game's world. If you liked the video or it helped you out, click the thumbs up button below. It really helps us out. If you think it could help others, share it. Of course, subscribe for more content like this and more. And if you have anything to add to our list, feel free to comment below. Thanks for watching and keep attacking.